Hello, Toy Collector fans. Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to chat with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place, and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Okie dokie then, you lot. So another week has come to pass, which means there is another episode of My Collecting Life to be viewed. And I'm guessing the question on everybody's lips is, who is on this week's episode? Well, why don't we all find out? But before we thistle do, sit yourselves down, put your feet up, make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of their collection in a musical montage. Righty ho, then, another absolutely awesome collection. There was lots of different varieties of Lego there, and there was plenty of Funko Pops as well. It's a pleasure to welcome to the channel and to the series Zoe T. Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much for taking part. It does mean a lot. Yeah, brilliant to have
I
you
mean,
here.
thank you for asking me. I mean, after Dad did his, I was kind of thinking, "Oh, maybe I'll be asked, maybe I'll be asked," but then I thought, maybe I don't want to," but I'm happy to talk
Oh
about it.
no, you'll be all right. It's all good. It's all good. All good. So obviously, like if you've seen your dad, you know a little bit about the series. There's 10 questions for you, all about you and your collection and stuff like that. So run time roughly about an hour if we go over. That's all right. It's not an issue. Not an issue. So when you're ready, Zoe, are we good for the first question?
Go for it.
Go for it. Okay, cool beans. Right. What toy lines were you into as a kid, and what memories do you have of those toy lines?
I mean, I think I probably revisited when I did the Tum Thumpers, on Shabby's channel.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I necessarily have a lot of cool memories with it, but I had, like, the Tweenies play sets and all the, like, Bob the Builder's characters and things like that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Bob the
Yeah.
Builder.
Yeah, um,
Wow.
and then, I didn't necessarily have a lot of Barbies. I mean, my older sister had quite a lot, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't sort of class them as mine. I was more sort of into the Bratz sort of era, and though I have more memories of playing with them and collecting bits and bobs to sort of the accessories and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, And then I got into Littlest Pet Shop. I think Steph had mentioned those at some point, but
Yeah, yeah.
mine was the more sort of like cutesy eye type ones, the
Okay.
more modern ones that you see sort of
Right.
in the shops now. They randomly come back. Um, and then like the Polly Pockets, so the little tiny ones, but also the
Yeah.
sort of bigger, medium-sized ones that are
Oh, I
more
didn't realise they did 2
like
scales.
yeah, yeah, so you've got
Oh,
the
okay.
ones that are sort of the classic, in that have the little sort of containers, like the
Yeah,
micro
yeah,
size,
yeah.
but you do sort of have ones that are I'm trying to think what would be a similar sort of size. I don't know, but
I
yeah,
suppose
they're
it
not
would be like the micro machines, wouldn't it? The really, like, small
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
type
but
thing. Yeah,
they
yeah.
had, other ones that are still called Polly Pockets that are probably sort of that sort of
Right,
size,
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, where so some of them had, like, actual hair, some of them had the more plasticky hair, um but yeah, so then you'd have like almost like jelly-like clothes as well that you could put on, and different sort of accessories as well. I'm not sure whether I did
Okay.
bring them up in Tub Thumpers, but yeah, so I had those as well. Um, and I think that's the majority of sort of my classic toys, really.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously sort of evolved from there.
Because you're probably one of the youngest, if not the youngest person that I've chatted to on this series and stuff like that. And when you mentioned Bob the Builder, I totally forgot about that. That is wow. That
Yeah.
was, I mean, gosh. I mean, so what other sort of like TV series were around at that time? I mean, you mentioned the Tweenies. I'm guessing the Teletubbies and stuff like that. Or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so we had those, but I wouldn't they're not like my go-to top list of
yeah, yeah,
things. Um, yeah, so you had the likes of Bob the Builder, possibly sort of like Barney and,
yeah. Barney, crikey,
that
yeah. Remember
again, yeah,
Barney?
that
Yeah,
sort of thing, but I think that's potentially more my sister more than me.
right,
Um, I'm trying to think what else was sort of yeah, I mean, loads of the sort of CBeebies and then into the CBBC, like, I was a big sort of Tracy Beaker, that sort of era,
right. Okay.
um, was my sort of programs to watch.
Because it's really weird because, I mean, your dad can, like, sort of, like, testify to this, but back in the '80s when we were growing up, I mean, because me and your dad are roughly around the same age, we had Star Wars, we had Master of the Universe, we had, Transformers, Mask, Thundercats, and all that sort of stuff, which was they were predominantly all TV shows or animated series back in the day, and, of course, you had the figure lines to go with those. Now, for me, growing up through the well, growing up when I in the late '80s, early '90s and stuff like that, there's a lot of things that are sort of like changed. But I mean, I'm guessing you were 2000s,
Yes, I was born in '98, so yeah, sort of the
98. Oh,
early to mid.
blimey. So I can't even remember what was sort of going on around that time. I know Bob the Builder. There was Thomas the Tank Engine because that was quite a big thing
Yeah.
back in the day. Yeah, so I remember Teletubbies and the Tweenies, but just trying to think what else was there.
I
Was
mean,
it
I think
Pokemon, Turtles?
yeah, but not necessarily that I was sort of
Yeah.
bothered by it. I mean, just another thing that sprung to my mind was, the likes of, like, SpongeBob and
Oh
Scooby-Doo
my god,
and things
yeah, that
like
was
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
more
SpongeBob.
my era, or me sort of as an
Yeah,
older child, like around 10 sort of thing.
yeah. So I remember SpongeBob because the first time I saw that was in 2003. I went to the States to go and visit my cousins and my auntie and uncle in the States, and they were in Ohio at the time. And my auntie always used to, her business was she was like a carer or a nanny, and she
Yeah.
used to have kids come round, and she used to like look after the kids while the parents went to work, that sort of thing. And we were sitting there watching this program, and it come on, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And she goes, "Oh, it's SpongeBob." She goes, "I said, this is absolute rubbish." I said, "It will never take off." And there you go again, me and my awesome predictions. I mean, it was huge, SpongeBob, wasn't it? It was absolutely massive.
Yeah, I mean, I think as sort of a younger child, we were more the sort of, the classic CBBC, that sort of
Yeah.
the preview type channels. But I think we randomly got Nickelodeon, so I was big into all the Nickelodeon
Oh,
shows,
yeah,
so
that
a
was
lot of
good.
like the
Yeah,
live
yeah.
action as well. Not so much the Disney, although obviously like the Disney films and stuff would be part, or looking
Yeah.
back, but being older and watching them and things like that. So yeah, the likes of like Drake and Josh was also sort of key. I mean, there was also a program called Zoe 101 that I was like, it's
I
about
vague
me.
it's
Um,
about you.
so yeah, those sort of connections
Yeah.
were yeah part of my
Wow.
childhood.
Do you remember the Rugrats?
Yes, actually, yeah, I remember one of
Oh, that was
the
great.
tapes. I think one of the rather than the series, I think it was one of the films. It was like an orange box rather than the classic sort of white, clear, sort of see through.
Yeah.
videotape box. And then I think from that as well, they had maybe a few years later, rather than it being Rugrats and they're sort of like toddlers, babies, I think it was
Yeah.
called All Grown Up or something like that. So it was them like 10 years later. So they were sort of like preteen, early teenager age
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're unlocking all these memories. All the
No,
ones
it's yeah,
I've
no,
forgotten.
it's great, it's great. I mean, how influential were those kind of TV series to you as a kid for the toy lines that you sort of like did get into?
I think some were and some weren't. I think I perhaps just more enjoyed them to watch. I mean, even
Yeah.
now I love TV shows and movies, but not necessarily to then have physical things to sort of represent it or
Mm.
to play with.
Yeah.
It was not that it was two separate things, but it was more that was what I'm watching, this is what I'm playing with, if you see what I mean.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's it's really that's cool because I know for me as a kid, and I don't know, I can't really talk for anybody else, but you know, when like say like a Transformers cartoon would come out, it's like, oh, we must have the Transformers. We've got to go and get those. Everything that they did back in that, you know, in the 80s was like for kids, it was a ploy for them to go out and buy the action figures, so they would put the
Mhm.
TV series on and stuff like that. And I think that was very influential back in the 80s anyway. And it's really interesting to hear how that kind of changed. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just like different people and stuff like that. But you know, from your perspective, it's really interesting to hear that it wasn't that influential. You watch this because you like watching it. You watch that because you like playing with the toys and sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose sort of thinking back, if we were to go to, I think a lot of the times it would be like Toys R Us, or I think we had like, was it a Toy Master in our town that's obviously not there anymore. Um,
Yeah.
my sort of go-to of what I'd want to buy, whether that's dad influencing me, I don't know, is like the Playmobil and things like that, which obviously
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
isn't anything that you'd watch or see in a film or whatever.
yeah.
Um, so I'd rather sort of have those, or like I say, the Bratz, although there was sort of films like that as well, but that was almost like a after the toy rather than before the toy or whatever. So yeah,
Mm.
it's almost like I'm in the toy shop wanting these things, not that thing that I'm watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. I get that. And what was it like for you as a kid with the toy shops and stuff like that? Because again, you know, speaking to people my generation, we remember when the toy shops were absolutely crammed full of toys. Every aisle was like floor to ceiling. You know, there was
Mm.
hardly any empty shelf space. I mean, I don't really remember the toy stores around the UK that around that particular time anyway. So like in the late 90s, early 2000s. So what was it like for you as a kid? I mean, you know, were you happy with what they had in the toy stores?
Yeah, I mean, I think whether it was just like we'd go in and okay, you've got this amount to spend rather than go for your life sort of thing.
Yeah.
It would be like your Argos catalogue, so you'd be
Yeah,
checking
yeah,
through that
yeah,
what you'd
yeah,
want,
yeah,
or yeah, I mean like the Toys R Us that we'd go to that's sort of a town over. Um, I'd immediately want to go to the Playmobil because I think that was potentially the only shop that had them. So we'd sort of zone in on there. And there'd be like a section that was baby born or baby Annabelle. But I wasn't really sort of bothered by that. It was interesting to sort of see, but it wouldn't be I want that. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, like I say, I suppose I gravitated more towards the Playmobil. So it was like, right, what specific set am I going to do based on the price limit that I'm allowed to have, or what's going to be added on to, because we have like two big Victorian houses of play sets. So what can I have
right.
that I can add to that sort of playing vibe or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. When you listen, when you hear your dad talking, when he does his like sort of like live streams and stuff like that, and he sort of like reminisces about the 80s and the toy stores and stuff like that, and how kind of lucky we were. Do you kind of feel a little bit envious of that, or not really?
Not really. I mean, I suppose because whether it's just because it's dad, so he is aware of that, so either emulates it to what experience I should have, or changes to sort of be what he want. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Yeah.
whether his influence has sort of done it, so I'm not envious. Um,
Right. I see what you mean. Yeah,
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 and I suppose because it's a different world, sort of no offense to anybody, but that there's slightly more technology and things are slightly bit more accessible.
yeah.
Um, it didn't feel like I was being limited or missing out on anything.
Right. Okay. And with regards to the technical side of things, were you ever into gaming? The you know the PlayStations, the Game Boys.
Not necessarily. I mean, I am now, whether that's just because of my boyfriend who's, I mean, he's tech mad, but,
Yeah.
we had I remember the probably my favorite Christmas was when me and my sister got a Nintendo DS Lite, I think was the actual title, where you had, like, all the different Nintendo games. So we had Nintendos, then we had Nintendo Wii one Christmas, I think is what we'd got. So I was more into that sort of realm,
Yeah.
but we never
Yeah.
really had, any Xbox or PlayStation. I think a lot of, like, the free PC games, like, I remember there for the Build-A-Bear, although I don't think it exists anymore, there was a Build-A-Bearville where you'd have your own character and the bear that you bought in the shop and things like that. So,
Okay.
um, little bit, but not sort of
Not too much.
massively
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, I again going back to when I was a kid, we had like the Atari and stuff like that, and game time on that was very limited. It was like, right, you run it for an hour and that's it.
Mm,
We only had one TV back in those days, so we just sat around and we just like each took a turn and played this Atari game and stuff like that, or games,
yeah.
and that was it. But now, as you know, as time goes on, things change. You have the portable TVs in your bedroom now. You've got the gaming systems, and like you say, most time is spent now playing on gaming than actually
Mm,
physical play. So I
yeah.
mean, so you enjoyed the physical play side of things more?
Yeah, again, I don't know whether that's just influenced by my parents or whatever, but,
Yeah,
yeah, I think I just enjoyed it more. I think we just weren't necessarily a massive, like, virtual game type
yeah,
family, really, whether that's just the reasoning behind it.
mm,
So it wasn't like I really wanted to, but I wasn't allowed. It was more just I didn't think it was an option, and I wasn't bothered that it wasn't an option.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, fair comment, fair comment. So what was your favorite toy line as a kid and why? Or did it sort of like change as you sort of like went through the years?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose depending on what age I was what I was more going towards. So I think to sort of look generally for the whole of sort of childhood before
Yeah,
it is more sort of teenage and just collecting rather than playing physically with them. It would be like the different Polly Pockets, it would be the Playmobil, and it would be the Brats, really. I think they're probably the main three core
yeah.
lines.
Would the Brats, was that like a, if I remember rightly, were they the band? Was it were they
Yeah,
ba was that a band
yeah.
or
So it was 4 main girls in a group, like a friendship
yeah,
group.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, there was I think they were like the Rock Angels or something like that,
okay, right,
that were like the band that they were the band, but also they were going to sit. I can't remember.
yeah,
But yeah, so it was the 4 main girls, and then they had like additional ones, and then they had like boy characters as well. So I think it started off as just the dolls, but then they had like TV, movies. I don't know whether they had a TV show. They did at one point have a live action film as well.
did
Um,
they?
yeah, I mean, I've not really
Blimey,
watched it. I think it was more
yeah,
potentially towards the late 2000s, so I
right, I
somewhat
see,
lost
okay,
interest.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I definitely remember the 2 of the movies that whether we have as a copy on a video or a DVD,
oh,
I can't
I didn't
remember. But
realise they'd
yeah.
done a movie. Didn't realise I think they did an animated series. I think there was an animated series,
Yeah,
I
there's
think.
definitely animated, like, TV films.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe a sort of film that went into cinemas, and I think there was an animated series, but I think there was only 1 live action.
yeah, yeah, and Playmobil, you touched on that. I mean, God, that's been going for years, and again, I wasn't too into Playmobil. I knew of it, you know,
Mm,
in my childhood days and stuff like that, but it wasn't something that I was never really sort of into. But then when I look back at it, when I look now at Playmobil, I can appreciate it a lot more. And I
mm,
don't know whether that's because, I've seen other people sort of like collect it and like it and stuff like that, or what they're doing now with the movie cars that they're doing and
yeah,
the TV series and stuff like that. But wow, some of that Playmobil stuff is amazing, absolutely
mm.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, so I think one Christmas, whether it was before I was born or when I was, like, not playing, but obviously alive,
Mm,
my sister had a big Victorian house, and I mean, it was, like, massive. I think it was, like, 3 or 4 like level, so it was quite
Wow.
hefty.
Yeah, yeah.
And had like all the different like Victorian bedroom, living room, and all sort of, although it was obviously plastic and Playmobil, but it
Yeah.
was sort of Victorian looking. Um, so we had sets like that, and then I think randomly I'd got a load of, obviously as we grew up, we'd got sort of like the farming stuff, and all sort of like flower shops and things like that. And then um I think from my dad working as a builder, and he was like clearing out one of the houses or whatever, but someone had left, so the same type of house but a more modern version. So
Oh,
the
really?
Victorian house
Wow.
was my sister's, although I was obviously allowed to play with it, but the
Yeah.
more modern one was mine. So I got
Wow.
to then get all of the bedroom sets that were
Yeah.
for the modern house. So I think because it
Oh.
was just around when I was obviously too young to play with it, it
Yeah.
then was, I was not almost like pushed into playing with it, but obviously wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, but when I got my own house, I was like, yes, and then I get all the bits that I wanted rather than it just being something that I
Yeah.
could play with.
So how was it with you and your sister when you were kids? I mean, because I had two sisters, so I didn't really want to sort of like play with their toys. I wasn't really interested. I had my own toys, and then I'd go off around a friend's house. I mean, did you end up getting a lot of the same stuff, or did your sister, like you say, pass stuff down to you
It's a bit of
a fair bit?
both, really. I mean,
Yeah.
some years, because we always, when it's Christmas, we have our picture taken sitting on the sofa with all of our stuff. So I suppose it's helpful so we can see what we got each
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it would be sort of similar things. So I'd get, say, a few Bratz dolls and accessories
Yeah.
and things like that, and so would my sister. But whether it's because, so she's 3 years older than me, so if she sort of grown out or moved on to something else or not
Right.
wanting to
Yeah,
play with
yeah.
toys anymore, it was a case of, oh well, I'll play with that now, or I'll just add it to my collection. And I mean, our neighbor who lived at the end of our garden was the end of their garden. She was a year younger than me and had, like, say, the littlest pet shop and stuff. So
Yeah.
sort of pack all of our stuff in a little bag and then go round to each other's houses and play with sort of all of ours.
Yeah.
So she had certain buildings for the littlest pet shop or certain characters, and then we'd sort of have, it's like we were playing with double the amount of toys together.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, did you was you quite protective over your toys? Did you like sharing your toys with,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
did you look after them as well, sort of thing?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
because whether it was just because I was playing with my sister or my friend, we weren't sort of like aggressive or we weren't damaging it. So there wasn't that lack of, well, no, you can't touch mine because you're gonna break it. It was more that sort of collaborative play.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there was almost like that mutual underlying agreement that we were gonna play nicely with each other's
Yeah.
toys.
Do you know, it's interesting you saying that because I remember, and I think most boys with the, or people my age were the same as kids, quite boisterous with their toys because they were action toys. You know, you had
Yeah,
Star Wars, you had GI Joe, Transformers. So these things were supposed to fight and get blown up and stuff like that. I It really does interest me as how girls played with their toys. Was it all like, "Oh, tea, cup of tea?"
yeah.
Oh,
I
yes,
mean,
it
I
was all like
suppose,
ponies and stuff like that and all that malarkey.
yeah, I suppose I don't want it to be like, oh, we're girls, so we'll play girly, because I don't like that type of sort of viewpoint. But I
Yeah,
suppose we kind of were, but whether that's just because we didn't necessarily have that sort of boy our age influence to
yeah.
throw toys about or whatever. So it just wasn't, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to damage something that is precious
Yeah,
to
no,
me?
no, no, that's the, yeah, 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 that's it. And I didn't try to, I wasn't casting any, like, stereotypical
Oh no, 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 no,
girls
no.
trying to play and stuff like that. But I just remember from my sisters, they would always sit their dolls around and have like little tea parties and stuff like that. And a couple of times I'd come back and, where's my what? And he's at the dinner table having a tea party. So I was like, oh, okay,
Like
yeah,
Buzz
yeah,
Lightyear in Toy Story 2 as Mrs. Nesbit with the tea.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah. When did you stop playing with your toys, and when did you realize, or when did you become a collector?
I'd probably say maybe the sort of the start to secondary school. I suppose because I knew this was going to be one of the questions, so I was kind of like pre-planning.
Oh,
Um, but in my pictures that I'm assuming is at the beginning, isn't it?
yeah.
I have my Blue Nose Friends, which is part of like the Tatty Teddy collection that's in that sort of house.
Yeah,
The-
yeah, 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 with the
Um,
different shells on it.
yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
my dad made. So I think they were probably my first thing that I got to collect. I didn't really play with them. Not sort
yeah,
of, I suppose unconsciously I just decided I'm going to display them rather than play with them really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably sort of around maybe 10, 11, getting into secondary school where it was more buying or collecting than playing
God,
really.
at 10 or 11?
I think, I mean, I might be wrong, but
Wow.
certainly
Wow.
that's
I
sort of
mean, even still, I mean,
cool.
for a kid of that age to have that kind of mentality to because, yeah, I mean, I was playing G.I. Joe and Subbuteo up to the age of 13, 14, 15. You know,
Yeah, I
more so
mean,
the Subbuteo and stuff like that,
yeah, I
but
mean, don't get me wrong, I was probably playing, say, like, on our DS's or our so I was still having that level of play, but in terms of physical
yeah.
toys, it
Yeah.
was less so. I don't think
Right.
it completely stopped, but it was sort of just reducing maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that's quite young. Wowzers, wowzers. I mean, and it I mean, with when it comes to collecting as well, how much of an influence has your dad been for you collecting?
Probably I've not realised, so probably quite a lot, but I've not realised because it's the norm, I guess, because I've
Yeah.
just grown up with dad's stuff up the loft. So it's and I mean, so when we were playing with our Playmobil, the sets, like
Yeah.
those houses, so up
Mm.
the loft, obviously it's not the case anymore, but the side that you see when dad's at the loft and he's got his sort of triangle
Yeah,
background,
yeah.
that's his side of the loft, and the other
Right.
side would be where our Playmobil and all of our like childhood stuff and other bits like that that we don't play with would be
Yeah.
on that side. Now that's not the case, and he's gone to where our stuff is
Oh, he's
now.
got
So I
right.
think just because it was just there, it was always there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was just a concept that was had it just existed rather than it being a mentality that sort of changed in my head. I don't know.
When you think about it, and are you quite glad your dad's given you that type of influence when it comes to collecting?
I mean, I guess so because so my boyfriend, he like I say, he's more into the gaming stuff because his dad has like all the Ataris and whatever
Yeah.
um sort of the community sort of celebrate and talk about. So he's more into that side, like he's PC gaming mad, but he doesn't really have a lot of physical collecting things. I mean, I've made him collect a few Funko bits and this, that, and the other. But I think that's my influence on him. So
Yeah.
I'm very much into having physical objects and things as like mementos and trinkets and stuff like that, whereas
Yeah.
it's less so. I think so I guess it's whether it's how we're sort of brought up. I've
Yeah.
forgotten the question. Yeah.
Fuck off. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
Run on.
Um, what toy lines do you currently collect?
Well, so although obviously the massive amounts of Funkos, I've
Yeah.
tailed off that in the last sort of year or so.
Okay.
Whether it's just because I've lost that sort of dopamine of collecting them, or I'm like, well, I have no other sort of shelving space that makes logical sense. So this is our spare room, that's my room. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can't find any other shelves. So I've just sort of lost interest. And I think because I've gone into Lego as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's my where I'm getting that dopamine when I get them. So that's where I sort of want to
Yeah.
stay. I mean, I'd collected sort of in the Gap as well, a lot of the mini brands, which were those things in the jars. But again, with that, I've lost interest in them in a bit. So I'm like less
Yeah.
buying. I think the main focus at the moment, or the hyperfixation, let's call it, is Lego. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Where
where
did that stem
my
from?
funding
Where
goes.
did that stem from? Because I mean, I've seen the Lego that you've got, and it's absolutely stunning. I mean, Lego was never like that when we were kids. You know, we had the city, we had the space Lego, and that was roughly about it. But some of the sets that they're doing for Lego these days are absolutely incredible. And I've got to mention your Stark Tower. Absolutely stunning. That is superb. And then you got the Harry Potter stuff as well. Again, it just looks so cool.
Yeah. So as a child, or I think because we were more Playmobil than Lego. I mean, we did have
Yeah.
some sort of like Lego sets, and we'd been to Legoland and things like that. But it wasn't. It was just a little bit. I wasn't too bothered by it. Um, but my boyfriend had got me the Thanos Gauntlet
Yeah. Yep.
randomly. I don't even think it was for like a birthday or whatever. Um, and it was just so cool to build. And then I was like, oh, I've got my own money, like, I've got adult money I can spend on other things. So I was like, "Oh, well, I'll get some of the flowers and I'll get the
Yeah.
bonsai tree." And then it was like oh, well, oh, they do that now, and oh, they do Marvel stuff. Oh, they do Harry Potter stuff. And then it kind of just spiraled
Yeah.
basically into
I I
all the
I can't believe they do bonsai trees and little plants and stuff like that, in Lego. That is
yeah.
really bizarre for me.
I do quite like all the little Easter eggs that they have within it. So the bonsai, I think the picture I've the sent is pink. So although it's meant to be blossom, it's actually little pink frogs. Um,
Okay.
and like the Dobby, when you build him, he has a little heart piece that you don't actually see when you've completed it, but you know
Right.
it's there. So you have all those little kind of like nods and Easter eggs that's almost like funny in the journey of building
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I quite like those little sort of bits as well.
I just find it incredible, absolutely incredible. I mean, what is your favorite set?
I mean, it has to be the Avengers Tower. I mean, that
Yeah.
was such a goal to get because a lot of them are just like, "Oh, well, I'll just get it because I want it." Whereas that, I was like, "No, no, I'll wait till my birthday, ask for some money to go towards it, and make a more of a thing of it." So I think that's probably got to be the number one. Really, it has to
Yeah.
be. It's the most expensive set that I've got, so it has to be
That
that.
is I mean, that is just absolutely fantastic. It really is. And how many minifigures did you get with that?
Gosh, must be like I think at least 20, maybe more.
Wow. Wow.
It's insane
That's
the
a lot of
amount.
figures. And how many Lego sets do you currently own at this moment in time?
Genuinely, I don't know. I mean, for a lot of them, I've bought them as outright brand new sets. But then I spend a lot of I mean, I get a lot of things and sell a lot of things on Vinted that's like clothes and
Yeah.
other stuff as
Yeah.
well. But I bought somebody's sort of job lot, whether it was her daughter's sets that she just doesn't bother with anymore. So it was like just a job lot of Lego, but unbuilt. So
Yeah.
I bought those because it's it's that dopamine of building it and completing a set. But it was a lot of the Lego friends that I'm not really bothered about because it's more that sort
Mm.
of um the girly sets for the younger children.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd build it because that's what I wanted to do, and then I'd like sell them on again or whatever. And then I've got like a lot here. Where's it gone?
Yeah.
Here. That's just boxes of just coloured Lego. So
Yeah.
I could probably build like a lot more. So I don't actually know how many sets I have, but
Wow.
enjoy
Wow.
it.
And I find it interesting as well because it just takes one little thing, doesn't it, to get you off collecting because I guess you weren't really into Lego as a kid then?
No, not really. I mean, we'd
Ah.
played it and like I say, we went
Yeah.
to Legoland Windsor, so it wasn't like I was against it. It just
Yeah.
wasn't something that we
Yeah.
massively were into,
Yeah.
really. I mean,
Yeah.
on the flip side of that though, I do really love the Lego games. So like I remember
Yeah. Yeah. They're
um,
fun.
I was playing the Lego Indiana Jones on my uncle's Xbox 360 and was obsessed.
Yeah.
Like we have the full Lego Star Wars on our Xbox, and then I think I've got like the Lego Incredibles. So
Yeah.
I really love those games. So I'd play that, but in terms of as a child playing Lego, not really.
No, no. And talk us through the pops because you had a fixation with pops.
Yeah.
Um, what was it about those that you enjoyed or you
So,
enjoy?
I think I remember when actually got my first pop because so me and my dad, shockingly enough, went to a lot. Well, we went to a few Comic Cons or other sort of toy collecting conventions
Yeah.
and things like that. And my first one was a Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, wow.
At that point, I was really sort of obsessed with watching it, and there's not really
Yeah.
a lot of merchandise. I think I've said this before. Maybe it was the
Yeah.
Christmas stream where it's like they don't do any sort of merchandise for this specific show or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's in that form. Well, I've got to get it then, clearly.
Yeah.
So I'd started with that, and then again, it's that snowball of oh, they do this range, or they do 16 candles, or oh my gosh, they do trading places, they do all the Harry Potter, and then it just kind of
It
it's
just
all of
snowballs.
those
Yeah.
interests, and then
I mean,
here we are.
what yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you start something, it is so easy, isn't it, to just get caught up in it and then just okay, and before you know it, you've got one, and then you've got like 50, 60, 70. It's just really weird how quickly it can snowball. I mean, so do they do complete lines? Did you get the rest of the Big Bang figures? Do they do more than
So
Sheldon?
I don't have all of the Big Bang Theory ones. I think I because now, I mean, now they're ridiculously expensive to
Yeah,
get.
but no, but I mean they did do them though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I ended up, my theory or my thought process was to get one of each character. I think
yeah.
the only character I have twice randomly is Howard, because I've got him in his normal clothes and him in a Star Trek outfit.
Right.
Um, so I think with that specific range, I just wanted one of each character. But some of the sets, so like the 16 candle sets is only 4, so I've got all 4. But like the Harry Potter one, I mean, they're endless. So I was like, I'll just go with the ones that I like from it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, or like the Trading Places ones, I've got all 5, and that's a complete set. So it's almost like a pick and choose, or like the Marvel, I mean, they're just there off the screen. So
yeah,
I wanted the shawarma set because they were all sort of pieced together, and then I
yeah,
just wanted Ant-Man ones because that's my favorite character. But then now I have a She-Hulk one, and it kind of, again, it slightly expands, and I go, oh, okay, well, I'll
yeah,
just have that one. That'll be the exceptional or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of pick and choose from my own perspective, really.
yeah. You're not a completionist then.
I am and I'm not, in a way. If I want to complete it, if it's particularly if it's a small set, I'll
Yeah,
complete it.
yeah.
But I'm not that bothered in some as well. So a bit of
Mm.
both.
No, I mean the only reason why I asked about the did they finish the rest of the figures off in the line is because you know Hasbro with the TVC they don't really do that sometimes, do they? They just do one
Yeah.
or two figures and then they just go off and leave it years and years and years. So before you get the rest of the crew, but never mind. We're not talking about Hasbro. Um, is there a toy line that you would like to start collecting? Is there anything out there that sort of like tickled your fancy and you go, oh yeah, I might get one or two of those?
I mean, not really. I think I'm trying to expand anything Ant-Man, but there just seems to not be a lot really.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the latest pickup that I'd got, I didn't even know it existed, and I just have the box here to hand.
Okay.
Um,
Oh,
is
right, there you go.
and I picked it up purely because it's an
Oh,
Ant-Man
okay.
one.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna get the whole sort of Marvel Legends one. I'll just get it if it's Ant-Man.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if there's anything else, I mean, please let me know if anybody does know. But if there's anything Ant-Man that I don't already have, I mean, I've got loads of obviously the Lego, why not? Um,
Yeah.
I think I've got the majority of the Funko Pop ones. I mean, so there's the Lego minifigures, and the only
Yeah.
other Ant-Man thing is the big, almost like Technic type one, but I have it. So I think that's only where I'd go to. I mean, that means nothing, and there could be something, I don't know, 6 months down the line, and I've
Yeah.
already got like loads
I
or
mean, do
something
you
else.
sort of like scour like eBay or places like Hasbro Pulse in demand toys and Star Action figures for Marvel Legends figures to see if they've got any Ant-Man
I mean,
figures?
sometimes. I mean, I think
Yeah.
vintage for me is, whether it's just I feel like it's a bit of a treasure trove and you're probably gonna get some decent bargains.
More than
But
likely, yeah.
I use that quite a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I've forgotten. There's another thing that I'm thinking about as well that's not Ant-Man. So not necessarily. I mean, whenever we go to any of like the NAC and whatever, I'm always
Yeah.
looking, but I
Yeah.
just never find anything. But saying that, I think I might try and collect more Simpsons related things as well.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't show it in the pictures that I sent you, but we'd had some of I think it's the official Simpsons figurines, or like
Okay.
I think it might have been like a Burger King toy, like the Happy Meal toy
Yeah.
type
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So we've got a few of those, but they're at my parents' house. But I wouldn't necessarily want them. They're more
Yeah.
just something that we had as a child. But
Yeah.
I think I might try and get all of the different minifigures, because obviously their heads, they're not like the Muppets ones. They're more the actual mold of that character rather than a
Yeah.
minifigure version. So
Right.
never say never, but I might
We
dip into that a
we
bit.
we went to a Sandown toy fair. I'm not too sure it was the one your mum and dad went to, but in one of the back rooms, there's this guy and he was selling loads of Simpsons figures. And I was like, I cannot believe how many figures there are in this line. There was loads,
Yeah,
absolutely loads. And I was like, wow. And I sometimes feel or think, oh yeah, I'd like to start collecting that. But then when you look into it, I said, "Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of
yeah,
figures. I wouldn't have to get them all, but just get the ones I like, and that's what I predominantly sort of like do now."
Yeah.
But the thing is with me, I like quite a bit, and that's
I
the
mean,
issue.
yeah, so we went the other week, I think it was before one of the, NECs, but I couldn't go. But, we went to the Leicester vintage shop. I think we'd saw
Okay, yeah,
but, they had some of those Simpson figures. I mean, I've got one for my uncle for his birthday, so I won't show you it, but it's over there.
okay, all right,
Um, so, like, those types of things. I mean, I think probably my favorite character in The Simpsons is Lisa. So
yeah,
anything Lisa related, again, like Ant-Man, I'm like a hawk. I'll go straight on it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I might try and branch out into that. I think it's just
yeah.
because although I really want Ant-Man stuff, there's not a lot available, and then it's like, oh, well, I won't get
Yeah.
anything. So what else can I shift my focus on
Well,
to actually get?
what I have noticed is that, with you, is that you like say, like Marvel or The Simpsons, but you always you pick a focus character. You don't, like you say, collect all
Mhm.
of them. You just focus on Ant-Man, or you just focus on are you like that with a lot of your, are you like that with
Potentially.
Lego, or is it you just
Yeah,
quite
I
happy to get
mean,
any kind of Lego?
I think with Lego, because it's so broad, um,
Yeah,
a lot of I mean, I regularly have a look on their website for new sets, but if it's something that I am interested in, so a lot of the like the botanicals things, all the flowers and things like that,
mm,
I won't necessarily get all of them if I'm not bothered by it because obviously it can
yeah,
be expensive. Um, but with like the other ones, so it'll be certain Marvel things like you say, or like I think I've got one of the Lego shops in as a Lego set. So if
yeah,
I quite like it, oh yeah, that'd be really cool to have. So I think yeah, it's more rather than just it's one character. It's I'll zone in on certain things
yeah.
that I like
Focus on,
rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
I guess yeah completing a
yeah.
whole set or something.
No, no, fair enough, fair enough. Um, is there a grail piece you would like to add to your collection? And again, when I say grail piece, it's not the most expensive thing in the world. It could be something that you've seen at a toy fair. You think, oh, I'm not too sure about that. And then you go around, you think about it and go, oh, yeah, yeah, I'll go. And you go back and to
Mm.
get it and it's gone and you don't see it again for God knows how long.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I knew this question was coming, so I thought free fire a little bit. Um, But I don't think I'll probably ever get it because it's gonna be so expensive, but the Lego Simpsons sets, like, I think you can get the Quickie Mart, you can obviously get the Simpsons house.
Yeah,
They'd be amazing to get, but because they're obviously retired for however many years,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it in person, let alone the price. But they would be amazing to have for
Mm.
sure.
I mean, they don't half hold their value, don't they, Lego? I mean, crikey, once the set's retired, that's it. It just
Yeah.
shoots up on the secondary market. I mean, and it does that kind of put you off from wanting to get sort of like Lego?
I guess yes and no. If I see it for a decent price,
Yeah,
then I might. But I think because I mean my obsession, let's call it that, has been in recent years. So I am just mostly looking at the new sets or the current sets. So
yeah,
that's where I'm aiming for. And then
mm,
obviously like the Marvel Tower, that was amazing. So and because it's new, I then obviously got it. So
mm,
um potentially, but again, I think because of the price, it probably puts me off. So
yeah. I mean, we go down to Blue Water, which is a massive shopping mall down near the down near Dartford, and they've got a Lego store there. And we very rarely buy anything in there, but we go in there and we just have a look. And I've got to say, some of the stuff they do is just absolutely insane. I mean, I remember seeing that Stark Tower and just thinking, wow, blown away by it. You see the Disney castles and stuff like that. You see the Harry Potter stuff. He's just think, wow, it's insane. And I I remember going down there one year and there's just the big Ultimate Collection series Manelli and Falcon, and I thought, oh yeah, I like that. And George like, so I didn't end up getting it. Anyway, I had half a day one day. I was on early, so I got home, got changed, and went down to went down there, and I ended up buying it. And I just got this picture of me sitting by the bed, going like that, pointing to the box. And George goes, "What have you done? What have you done?" And I was like, "Look, if you don't want me to have it," I said, "It's fine. So I'll take it back. I'll take it back." And she's come home and she goes, "Well, you won't be taking it back then because I'm sitting there putting it together." "Oh, I love you," like that. But the thing is, they are huge pieces. They are
Yeah.
massive, some of that Lego, those sets. But then again, I mean, they're quite expensive. I mean, they're not cheap, are they?
But then
Even from,
yeah, I mean,
retail.
they're expensive, but I think I saw a video where someone was explaining whether they used to work for one of the Lego either discovery centers or shops or whatever, but
Yeah,
because I mean, certainly, so the Diagon Alley set, the miniature one that
yeah,
is my most recent one, I think that's like it's definitely 2,000 pieces, if not 2,000 and
yeah,
something pieces. Um, but when you were sort of divide the pieces by the price, each piece I think is only like 8 to 10p for each one. So when you sort of really boil down to how much does each specific piece cost,
yeah.
it's not that expensive. It's just because the quantity of pieces to build that
Right.
set is so
Yeah.
large, the price has to reflect it.
Crikey, for a minute there, I thought I was talking to Adam Berry with those stats. Blimey. But
Sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I've got to say, just the last bit on the Lego is sometimes you get the box and you think, yeah, that's awesome, and then you take it out and build it, and it's like you see the size of it, and then you look at the box and you think, why is that box so big? And this is like tiny little bit. But there you go. But I do enjoy Lego. Unfortunately, the most of my Lego, or our Lego, should I say, has been all taken to bits and put back into the baggies and stuff like that with instructions because we just don't have anywhere
Yeah,
to
I think
display it. That's the
that's
problem.
half the battle really, as much as some of the sets that I love because it's just funny to see it as a miniature thing,
Yeah.
or it's those licensed ones, you then think, "Oh god, where am I gonna display it?"
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, I'm sure you've got to that point now, have you? With
Yeah, I
space?
mean, so rather than my dad that's somewhat limited to the loft, because it's my house and I don't care what my boyfriend says, if it's going in the living room, it's staying in the living room. So
I
I've
like
got more
that. Well
options
done
and more
you.
windowsills.
Well, I like that. Well done you. Well done you.
So
That's
there you
awesome.
go.
Um, do you have a sentimental piece or a prized piece within your collection?
Um, I guess yes and no, because so a lot of my toys that wouldn't necessarily be sort of straight to collectibles have those sentimental things, but they're
Yeah,
mostly at my parents' house. So not really. I mean, I think like my firsts of like the Funko Pops or the firsts of the Lego and things. And obviously, I mean, I hate to be a broken record, but the Avengers Tower is just amazing.
yeah,
So you have those core things that have got so much value personally as I guess as well as the actual price of it. So not one specific to be annoying and not answer your question correctly.
right.
But for certain I think because I collect so many different things,
Yeah,
there's mental
yeah.
things for each one.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Um, well, yeah, I'll tell you what, this hour's flying by. I've got three more questions for you. Would you ever consider starting your own channel?
I don't think I would necessarily by myself. I mean, I try to convince my dad to do his own one or we'll do one together, but that never amounts to anything. I mean, I think because I hop on so I mean, clearly I'm hopping on your channel today.
Yes, yes, you are.
But I think because I hop on, I mean, I've only hopped on yours and Shabby's, and then obviously the Scuba's one as well.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to because I can just lean on other
Oh,
people.
just okay. Like that, is it? No, that's
Um,
absolutely fine. I mean, it is time consuming. I will say that.
Yeah, but I think I'd never say never. I
Never
think
say
if
never.
I was to, I'd definitely try and do it with my dad because
Yeah,
I think it would just be an interesting concept of two different perspectives because of
yeah,
age and what we collect as well.
yeah.
And I'm massively into TV and film, and he's only
Mm,
seen a select few.
mm,
So yeah, I think there's things that we could play off on, but I've
yeah.
just got to twist his arm a bit more, really.
So you've been on my channel. You've
Yeah,
been on Shabby's. You've been on Scuba's. Right. You're a big Lego fan. Why haven't you been on Lego Studs and Brick Babes with Rum?
never been asked.
Have
I
you
think
not? Rum, what are you playing at? Zoe likes Lego. Come on.
I
I mean,
think
if you were invited, would you go? And I mean, I think you'd be damn brave if you did. But
I think I'd think about it.
yeah, yeah.
I might see if the likes of Steph would be on at the same time, or
Oh,
organise
Steph's
it
a
in a way
regular.
that would
Steph's a
be
part of the furniture now. She's going to be there for permanent fixture now.
yeah, organise it in a way that would be kind to me, let's put it that way.
Mm.
But yeah, I think just because I've just not been in a lot of sort of not close circles, that sounds like the wrong phrase,
Yeah.
but our paths haven't really crossed, so that
Okay.
conversation's never been
Okay. Well, no, that's fair enough. I'm not gonna push you in any direction at all. I, you know, oh dear. But I mean, if you did do a channel, what would you, you know, what would you base it on? What would it be about? Funko
Again, I
Pops?
think
Lego?
it depends whether I do it with dad or not. So you could
Yeah.
do things sort of TV and film related where I make him watch things that he's never seen when everyone's like, "What? How have you not watched that?" So that could be an element that you could go down. It could be the Lego element. It could be, say, like the Playmobil, because I know we've recently sort of gone through and organized the set. So there's loads of ideas, but it's never amounted to anything. I mean, on a separate note, so on I have my own TikTok where I have my bullet journal, so that's completely
Right.
separate
Oh,
to
okay. Yeah, yeah.
sort of collecting or anything like that. So that's sort of what I do in my free time that's not obviously
Yeah.
collecting related. So
Mm.
maybe that, I don't know. I think
'Cause
there's so many ideas, but nothing concrete.
I remember asking your dad the same question, and I don't think he was very keen on the like,
No,
I
which
mean,
is
to be fair, your dad has done ever so well, considering that he would never ever go on YouTube. You can't
yeah.
get
I
him off
mean,
it now, can you? Which
yeah,
is, you know,
he's
he's here,
been
there, and everywhere.
yeah, literally. I mean, he does. I think it's probably more the managing the technology side of things, whereas obviously in a lot of the streams that he's on, like I am today, you're just sitting and talking rather than,
Yeah, yeah,
say,
yeah,
looking at the chat or organizing when things to be recorded and things like that. So I think that's probably why he's on so many, which is if we were to do it together, I'd be, say, the one doing it. But like I say, I try and twist his arm, but the arm's
yeah.
not twisted enough.
Well, you know what they say about old people and modern technology, they don't really mix well, do they? So, maybe that's, something to take into consideration, bless him. Right, 2 more questions for you. Um, what gives you that toy collecting buzz?
I th- I suppose in a way it's if so, like, say the Ant-Man thing, like the literally this week when I saw that future Ant-Man thing, I was like, "Oh my god, there's an Ant-Man thing!" And it's
Yeah, yeah,
that if something's difficult to find, or I know that there's very little of that character or that
yeah,
show or whatever, it's that, "Oh my god, there's something of it. I must get it." Or like the Lego, um, just the, "Wow, that's so," like, they're doing it. Hate to keep saying it, but they've got the massive Marvel tower. Oh my god, I
yeah,
need
yeah,
to get that. And then as you're building it, like I said before, those particularly for the Lego sets, those
yeah,
fun little Easter eggs or those like little sort of like wink and nudge type things
yeah,
uh, are quite funny building, which you wouldn't necessarily have if you were just getting a Funko, for example, or if so randomly, say like the SpongeBob one. I think that's the one I'm pointing to.
oh,
Um,
crikey, right.
you get the character, but
Yeah,
in a certain episode or a certain costume, and it's just
yeah,
that humor. I mean, I'm massive into humor, so if there's, I mean, so like the where is it? There. So that's the Brady Bunch. It's a two pack. So you've
right.
got Jan and George Glass, who's a made up character. So in the packaging, it's just an empty space. So
Oh,
like
wow.
you get the funny nods to things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's yeah. I think it's more that humor side of things. I mean, I don't know why, but I have such an obsession, whether that's thanks to Ant-Man, but of miniature things. So like the mini brands and stuff, it's just hilarious to me that there's what you'd see, but in a tiny,
in a tiny version, yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
again, whether that's because the Lego as well. So yeah, I think that it's just that level of humor that
yeah,
is that
yeah.
dopamine buzz.
And when it comes to actually physically getting, you know, part bits for your collection, whether it be Lego, Funko Pops, are you do you prefer, should I say, going out to toy fairs, or are you quite happy to just go online and get stuff offline?
I think a bit of both, really. I think for the Lego, particularly the newer sets, it's a safe bet to get it online because you know it's going to exist. But I mean, again, I'm mentioning it again, but for the Avengers Tower, I
Yeah.
thought I don't want to buy that online. I want to physically go in, mainly because it's a massive box anyway. But I want to physically go in and see it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so heavy anyway, just in the
Mm.
box. So a bit of both. I wouldn't say that I'm more inclined to do one or the other
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But I guess with going to, so like the NEC, or when we went to the Leicester Vintage shop, I got a Simpsons minifigure. But
Okay.
if I was elsewhere, I wouldn't necessarily see that. So yes and no.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. And with your Lego, do you keep the boxes?
no,
You do, are you?
no,
What? What?
no.
So
I don't.
your big Avengers Tower box, you've got rid of that?
So for that
Oh,
one,
you've kept it.
so on the side they have, in fact, if you pause it, I will go and grab it.
Hey, well, pause it. What? This is awkward.
So for the Avengers Tower and for the
Yeah.
Diagon Alley, I'd kept some of the box
Right. Okay. Let's have a
because
look.
I don't know whether you can see that.
Oh, look at that.
I just thought I think this was potentially the inner sleeve, so it would be
Yeah.
like the one on top of it, so you don't actually
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
everything. And I just thought that is so cool. I've no idea how
Mm.
I'll display it, so it's currently in a drawer.
Yeah.
Um, and then you were asking earlier about the number of minifigures.
Oh my goodness me. Well, look at that lot.
So I thought that's too cool not to keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Wowzers. That is
and
awesome.
then for the Diagon Alley, I mean, I
Yeah.
really should have cut this properly, but you can see them all there.
Wow. Hang on.
So
What? That is what? That's one set. All
yeah,
that you see on there. That's one set.
yeah. I mean, it is micro, so it's not the size.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like for example, the
Oh,
minifigures
oh wow.
are,
They are tiny, aren't they?
whether that's clearer or
Yeah, I
not.
can see those.
No.
Yeah, they are
So
tiny.
if you think on here, I don't know whether they've actually got any of the minifigures on here.
Oh, well, I've got
So
bob up
they're
chances seeing
relative
those. Yeah.
size to this. So it's not actually that big.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so they're the only things in the boxes. But yeah, I controversially, potentially, I
Wow.
don't throw away
Wow.
Lego boxes, but I do keep all of my Funko Pop boxes, despite
Yeah.
having them out in front.
Okay. But why do you keep your Funko Pop boxes?
So when I was still living at my parents' house, they
Yeah.
were displayed in the box,
Yeah.
whereas when I moved out into my own house, I've displayed them as that. So it's the side of the box with their name behind them,
Right. Okay.
and they're in front. So I guess it's
Oh,
that
I see.
I could
Okay.
potentially resell if I wanted to. It's got their name behind it. It
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
nice set
Okay.
out.
Fair dues. Fair dues. Um. Last question for you. What does your collection mean to you?
Um, I think it's such a representation of me as a person, I guess, in a
Yeah. Yeah.
way. You could literally look at all of my Funkos and see what I like really without me
Mm.
telling you. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I have drag queens on there, I have Harry Potter on there, I have Big Bang Theory, I have SpongeBob, I have Elf, some of the 80s films as well. So it's very much a representation of me
Yeah.
without saying anything really. And I guess the
Mm.
same with the Lego. I mean, particularly the Ant-Man ones, you can tell, well, that's got to be her favorite character, because if it's not, then
Yeah.
why the hell she got that many? So, yeah, I think it's just such a representation of who I am, what I enjoy, what I like.
Right.
That.
Yeah, no, no, fair play, fair play. And that, I think you could say the same about anybody, couldn't you? Really, with their with what they collect and stuff like that. I just want to know, when are you going to be getting a Zoe T sticker because it's Funko Pops or because it's Lego? Are you going to go down that route or no?
I don't think I'd do anything like that. I think because I'm so here, there, and everywhere in
Yeah,
terms of what I collect.
yeah,
And rather than, unlike Dad, if he'll get anything because it's Star Wars,
yes, he does.
it will be
Yeah, yeah,
more, I'll get it because I like it. So that rule
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
apply
yeah.
to me, unfortunately.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
mean, I guess whether I do anything the bar related, I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, I guess we'll just have to watch this space with that. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the idea is floating in the back of my head, but we'll see.
Okay, cool. And I have just got one more question, bonus question.
Go for it.
But, I'm not too sure whether you've mentioned it or not, but do you have the Lego Stark Tower?
That's going to become a thing now, isn't it? Oh,
You do. Yeah. Um,
never mind.
Zoe, I've got to say, this has been great fun. Love chatting with you. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. And where can people find you on social media?
I don't really use my social media for my collection. I mean, I might pop up a few things like my Lego sets that I buy on my personal Instagram story, but not
Yeah.
really. I mean,
o-
if you want to contact me, I'd say maybe go through my dad or see me in the
Okay.
chat. I don't know.
Okay. There you are. There you are. Well, and you can also see Zoe on plenty of other people's channels apart from her own, but maybe one day, you never know. Anyhow, Zoe, once again, thank you so much. It really has been a pleasure. Thank you. For those of you who have stayed to the end, whether you've watched it or whether you've listened, thank you so much. Really do appreciate your support. Thank you. Take care, and we shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.